Welcome to Guarantee News. My name is Garrett, as usual. And sorry about the lighting. I'm recording right in front of a window. The sun's going down, so it makes it a little bit weird. Ignore it. As usual, if you're watching for a second, a minute, the entire video, I appreciate it. You could be watching anything in the world, and you're watching me, and yeah, I appreciate that. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, GS Studios, GSTEWDIOS. And definitely, as usual, tell me what you like about this video, what you don't like, where I'm off, where I'm right. Yeah, feel free to disagree with me, and if you do agree, tell me where. If there's some parts you disagree at and do agree, definitely say all that in the comments. Keep it respectful, but if it's not respectful, what can I do about it? You know, the whole spiel. Now, this episode is going to be an update on the U.S.-China tariff war, tariff whatever, that keeps going on, that keeps going in like this, like the markets. I've been talking about it. We had an update into it. So in this episode, we're going to get into the recent update that China announced over last night for us, during the day for them, how it's affecting American businesses, and how the announcement last night is, and how this whole thing altogether is affecting American businesses for the better and for the worse. And then we're going to get into a potential the talks, or the potential for talks between Trump and Xi Jinping over the weekend. Like, because if they have talks over the weekend, the trades, like the percentage on imports and everything from both of them are so high, people are thinking they're going to talk this weekend. We're going to get to that and how that could potentially make a change for this whole thing going on, right? So first, let's get into the announcements. So basically, on Friday, which is today, China hit the U.S. with 125% tariff on imports, and this is the latest move in a series of tit-for-tat tariff and increases. And what was it, on Wednesday or something of this week? Not too long ago, Trump made the imports, like, raised the tariff on imports from China to 145%, and then on Friday China responded with this 125%, and that's basically back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. When China made the announcement, their finance ministry criticized the U.S.'s actions as bullying and warning that continued escalations could render the U.S. a joke in global economic history. So let's look into this a little bit more. So in a fiery statement, China's finance ministry accused the U.S. of bullying. It said it risked becoming a joke on the world stage. And this is the quote right here. The U.S.'s arbitrary imposition of abnormally high tariffs on China seriously violates international economic and trade rules, disregards the post-World War II global economic order built by the U.S. itself, and violates basic economic laws and common sense. It is completely unilateral bullying and coercion, the statement said. So the first thing that I want to get with this, now that we kind of have what's going on with the update, is go into why we're doing this, right? The major trade imbalances, basically we import a bunch of things into China. China imports very little in things to us. I think in 2023 it was something crazy, like the U.S. exported approximately 147.8 billion to China, while importing about 448 billion. So that's a $300 billion difference. So that's a major trade deficit. So basically we're sending 147.8 billion things to them, and then getting $448 billion worth of things from them. They have a very, very, very major part in our economy, and we have a very, very, very low part in theirs, and that is by design from China, and that is why Trump is saying we need to fix this whole thing. That's the reason for him before, right? And he's saying it's this big deal. Now, and I want to play this video because, and I've said this while I've been covering it, if this is the first you're seeing it, the question that I think a lot of people have, because Trump isn't the first person to talk about this, and by this I mean the need for America to prepare itself economically for the growth of China, and the need for America to encourage us building our own things, buying American, all that stuff, jobs. Like that's not new. It's the way that Trump is doing it. And you can look at this video, like someone says, Obama in 2015, if we don't write the rules, China will. We'll lose U.S. job. Trump in 2025. Hits China with 125% tariffs to stop the bleeding. Media back then, strategic genius. Now, Trump's dangerous. Same damn message. Trump just had the balls to do it. Hypocrites. I think the question is how he's doing it, not the fact that he's doing it. And we'll see if it works or not. That's one of the major things, is the premise of what he's doing, I think, makes sense and is true, and a lot of people agree with. The way he's doing it, how is it going to hurt Americans? For how long will it hurt Americans? And which Americans will it hurt? How will we be able to, or how will Americans be able to make that switch over into, building things here, being business owners here, especially small business owners, which we'll get to. Let me play this Obama video
The
so you can
argument is,
see.
number one, that's the biggest market in the world. Number two is those countries are already selling to us. I keep on pointing out there are a lot of Japanese cars here in the United States, almost no U.S. cars in Tokyo. Number three is that if we don't write the rules, China will write the rules out in that region. We will be shut out. American businesses, American agriculture, that will mean a loss of U.S. jobs.
So this is pretty much what Trump has been saying, just in a different tone, right? It's pretty much what Trump has been saying. And this guy's saying Trump is the only one to do it, and a lot of Trump fans would be the ones to say that. Now, how is this affecting Americans, business owners, things like that? You saw like some stretching. If you saw that, those stretching videos, I messed my shoulder up in the gym. I'm trying to stretch it out. But okay, stay focused. So how is this gonna affect America, right? We're gonna watch a couple TikTok videos, but then I want to talk about like corporate. Like companies like Tesla have halted sales of certain U.S. made models in China due to the new tariffs. As far as the tech industry, U.S. chip makers outsourcing manufacturing to countries like Taiwan, are exempt from China's tariffs, benefiting firms such as NVIDIA. So basically, that's pretty much saying that if you're a U.S. chip maker for like phones and things like that, AI chips are very, very important. That's very, very big business. If you're outsourcing if you're outsourcing where those are being made to countries like Taiwan, you're not gonna have those China tariffs. That's a big deal. Little things like that are a big deal, and a firm like NVIDIA, I guess, is benefiting from that because they do that. And if you haven't heard of NVIDIA, if you know anything about stocks, you probably heard of NVIDIA. It's a big deal. Now, companies doing domestic production like Intel have faced increased costs, which is an interesting thing to think about. I'll look into that more. Now, the stock prices of companies like gone like this and that. Let me see if I can. Let me go to TradingView really quickly. Stock prices and I'm doing all this to say how are these tariffs affecting people now, and how have they already started to affect people? All right, so let's look. Okay, this is Dow Jones. This is the S&P 500, and this is is this NASDAQ or is that NASDAQ? No, that's Dow Jones. This is the NASDAQ, and this is S&P 500. Again, if you've heard anything about stocks, you know about these things. What I'm trying to do, like if you ignore anything else, just look at what's happening. Just look at what's happening here. Let's look what's happening around here, around this area. So last week on, what was it, April 2nd? No, yeah, on April 2nd, Trump announced Liberation Day, which is when he announced all these tariffs. And since then, when he did it, we talked about the Liberation Day. When he did it, the tariffs, or when he did it, he did all those separate tariffs for every country. It was a big deal. And then a couple days later, or a week later, he did the 10% tariff, and now we're in this China war, right? Or it's specifically with China. Things move fast. I want to just show this to show what the market has done, and talk about one other thing that we'll talk about in Guaranteed News a little bit more at a later date. So this is the day he made the announcement of the tariffs. This is the day after. Took a crazy jump. This is the day after that. That last day, Friday, took a crazy jump. This is where you were seeing all over the news, the biggest jump of all time. Everything's crazy. Market deficit. Okay. Then, on Monday, it jumped up a little bit more. Then on Tuesday, it jumped back down again. Then on this Wednesday, April 9th, this is when he announced the 10%. We're moving it all back to 10%, and we're just on that with China, nobody else. All the money that was basically lost. Remember, this drop it started from here, so it's not all of it, but a lot of that drop was gone back in one day. Everybody was excited, and then the last 2 days, Thursday and today, we're kind of playing around in the middle. It dropped back down again because people are still scared. The whole China thing, 10-day, 90-day pause, it's a 90-day pause. It's a lot of things with that, so we're in that middle. So not quite down as low to where we were, but not quite as high as the rebound that it had, or where it was before any of this Liberation Day, tariff war, China 10% on all the other countries things started, right? The market's been doing a lot of crazy things. And because of that, there's been talks about insider trading, which we will get to in another episode. But basically, there's like a talk of like an AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I know I said her name wrong. Excuse me. Let me move my camera back. Right. She said, raises alarm over potential insider trading linked to a Trump White House connection. Trump was in the White House a couple days ago. Like said, this guy made $2 billion, and this guy made like $955 million, talking about the raise that happened on this Wednesday or this Thursday that we just looked at. The raise that happened on, Wednesday. And people are saying there was like a lot of volume, a lot of jump. 10 minutes before he made that announcement, there was a lot of high people getting into the market again. People are saying, who is it? We want to look at Congress. Who are the people trading? Insider trading, big deal. Another thing where people could call Trump a crooked, shady person. We'll get to that more, but that happened. So it's affecting the market in a crazy way, right? It's affecting tech, but then it's affecting business owners, which is where we're going to get to this. We're going to skip to the middle of this video. I want to show
those countries.
Let's show. So let's go back a little bit more. So let's see how it's affecting
US
businesses.
Wants a trade war, China will fight to.
So this is just CBS going in for this part right here is just talking about what we've already talked about, China's announcement saying they're going to do a trade war, and then it starts talking about business owners.
The end. And quote, the U.S. cannot win the support of the people and will end in failure. The reciprocal tariffs will lead to increased prices for most Americans. Though they're a boost for Matt Billings, who owns a metal manufacturing company that sources its supplies domestically and isn't subject to import tariffs.
It's been a big boom. We are, more busy than we've ever been.
Billings says he can barely keep up with the demand.
We went to 7 days a week. We've added multiple shifts. We have added more equipment.
But for Sarah Wells, who owns a bag company targeted to new moms and imports tens of thousands of units from China a year, she's worried she may have to shut down her business.
Might as well be 1,000%. It's just insurmountable for small businesses. I mean, I can't do that. That exceeds the cost of the manufactured product.
Well, President Trump says those countries that do not reach a deal with the U.S. by the end of the 90-day pause will likely face the high rate they were supposed to before the pause. But he did not rule out the possibility of an extension, saying, we'll see.
The extension, that's why the market keeps going like this, a part of it, because you can never grasp anything with Trump. 90 days, if you don't make some type of deal that I like in the 90 days, we're going to go back to where you were before. But on top of that, I could extend it out even more. Now, then there's that conversation of the guy that had the steel company. He does all his stuff domestically, but then there's the lady that imports stuff. You see how he's hurting people and helping people and all the nuances with that and time and everything that goes on with that. Let's watch this video as well.
I'm kind of, to be honest, as a small business woman, annoyed at the idea that people are talking about we have a 90-day pause, because I just want to point out two things. One, there's still 10% on everything. And 10% is not nothing. There are ways to help businesses in the United States. There are ways to help consumers in the United States. Tariffs are not the way to do it. And all he has created is the fact that we don't know what's going to happen. We are all...
And this is all true. I will say about the part of saying 10% isn't nothing. I get that. Lowering to 10% across the board is not as high as it was for all those different separate countries and that weird math. Like we talked about that on Guarantee News as well. So go watch that. Let me see, what video did I talk about that? Trump's tariffs, right? And I talked about it on this video. Well, wait, right here. Trump's tariffs, right? And I talked about it on this video as well. And then here's the 90-day pause video. So we've been covering all of this tariff stuff, right? The only thing with the 10% saying it's still a lot, it is still a lot, but you can't take it away altogether, because if you take it away altogether and do this during this 90-day talk, it's defeating the purpose of what he's at least trying to do. He's going too far back over. That's the only thing I'll say with that. So that's why I think the 10% was a plus of what he was doing before, with one country 30, one country 40, one country 10, one country 5. That is just crazy. That's just crazy. That's what I'll say about the 10. And then this is another good video that I like.
We're here at the California warehouse of Amazon seller Dusty Kenny. She's been feeling the impact of tariffs in a big way. She sells some $800,000 of these items, like baby utensils and bento boxes, on Amazon every year. She has them manufactured in China, and they arrive in pallets by the thousands.
I would love to be able to manufacture in the US, but the truth is that the infrastructure is not there. The manufacturing infrastructure doesn't exist, and what few places make this kind of product, they can't compete on price.
And that's a big question of how all this is going on. Like, okay, you want better trading, you want people to make their products in America, but we have to have the high scale, wide range manufacturing to do that. That's when you see, like, if you've been seeing like those memes on Twitter or TikTok with like the American sweatshops, like it's hard for some people to see the level of manufacturing, however they're able to do it, or the means that they're able to do it, the level of manufacturing that's happening in China or other countries that coming to America in certain different ways for certain types of products, specifically for like her business, for things like that, like baby food utensils and just like little like trinket type of things. Like, I don't, that's where it becomes like, how it gets back to those questions of how long before we do this, in the way that you're doing it is so 100% that it's either gonna hurt, it's gonna hurt a lot of people. You're not easing people in. Again, a common theme with me with these things is, how is it going to affect people in the short and long term? And I do need to do a video of how it's going to just affect like groceries, the average family, things like that, not business owners. But how is it going to affect people, and how long are we going to have to wait for it to affect people for? You know what I'm saying? But that large scale manufacturing is a good point.
These tariffs went on for years. That could absolutely put us out of business.
Kenny says it's a cost she's going to eat, because if she added it to her prices, China-based businesses would undersell her by too much. That's because they can take advantage of what's known as the de minimis provision, a loophole allowing goods under $800 to come in from China. Think all those cheap goods on Temu and Shein with no tariffs or duties or taxes. Trump recently put de minimis on hold, then reversed it when the post office got backlogged with packages from China.
Okay, the de minimis, important for a couple things. For the small business owners, and I know someone, the small business owners, say you have like a Etsy website where you sell products, or you have like a clothing brand for like maybe like fashion, and you get your stuff imported from China, it's made in China, and you get it, put it into the America. Obviously, they're sending it to America. If you're doing a product that's less than $800, you're not affected by the tariffs. That's interesting, and that's something good for small businesses. Another thing with that, with them saying Trump took it away and then he added it back because the post office got backlogged. That gets back into why people can be scared of, like, does he know what he's doing? Does he have a plan? You know what this de minimis thing is beforehand because people are telling you about it, right? That's a question, like, right? If you know, you should be able to see what would happen if you take it away. It's like he's doing things, seeing how, it's like he's just throwing stuff and seeing what sticks to the wall, which is like something you don't want the president to do. And there's proof of him doing that all over the place. That's a scary thing, but I just wanted to talk, we'll go into that, but that whole spiel for the last probably like 10 minutes, like 7 minutes, was how it's affecting companies, how it's affecting people, small businesses, big businesses, things like that. So what's going to happen? It's Friday. In the next 2 days, while the markets are closed, while things are a little bit down, while the news is a little bit down, less things happen. That's just the way the world works. We want a deal to happen, right? We want, and China has said that, well, Trump has said China wants to make a deal. Xi Jinping and his people have made it seem like they're opening the talks to America. Hey, if we have a chance to talk to America, we're going to talk. They're basically, it's again with the whole Russia, Putin, Trump, where it just seems like two powerful countries, two powerful people dancing. We're going to talk, but how are we going to talk? What's it going to look like? What's it going to do for each one of our markets? What's it going to do for each one of us? And everybody's looking to see with these crazy tariffs, because China already said that they're not going to further retaliate. They said, hey, if America charges us more tariffs at this point, we're going to leave ours at 125, because anything higher than that is just pointless and it's for show. So let's see what America does. I bet Trump doesn't raise it even more. So let's see what happens over the weekend. Do they get to a conversation? Do they lower the tariffs? What will probably happen is that they'll do a pause. China gets in with that 90-day pause, but if they're in the 90-day pause, what their percent going to be? Are we going to take them down to 10, or does Trump want to deal with them now? Are they the first ones? I think there's going to be a pause, but China's pause is going to look a little bit different from everybody else's. But China in America, Jinping and Trump will talk this weekend. They just have to do it. They're going to negotiate, and we're going to see what's going to happen and how the dispute is going to be settled. And this is going to all just take time to see the effect this has. Is it going to bring us into a recession? Is it going to bring manufacturing and money back? How long? These are the questions I'm going to keep asking, and we're going to keep giving updates on. But yeah, these negotiations, or lack thereof, this weekend are going to be a big deal, and we're going to be looking at the market too as well. And thank you for watching. That's a wrap on this video. Let me know in the comments, is Trump doing the right thing with these tariffs? And not only is he doing it the right thing, do you like the way he's doing it? Is he showing a sign of force and just being powerful, or is he showing a lack of care for Americans or a lack of planning? Definitely let me know what you think. Have a good rest of your day. See you.